I live in London, the capital city of England and the UK. London is a busy and exciting city that attracts people from all over the world. It's the most visited city in Europe and has the world's busiest airport system too. Every year, millions of tourists come to London to see its famous landmarks and museums. It's also a major financial centre and home to some important universities and cultural institutions. Walking through the streets of London, you can feel the energy and excitement. The city is a mix of different nationalities, so you'll hear different languages wherever you go. Today, London is one of the most diverse cities in the world. Anyone who visits London will instantly recognize Big Ben, the famous clock tower next to the Houses of Parliament and Westminster Abbey. Buckingham Palace is also in the same part of the city. It has been the home of the country's monarchs for almost 200 years. The River Thames runs through the centre of the city. From the river, you can see famous landmarks like Tower Bridge, Shakespeare's Globe, the Tate Modern, and the London Eye. These landmarks offer amazing views and are popular attractions for tourists. London is well known for its fantastic museums and art galleries. The British Museum has a valuable collection of precious objects from different civilizations, while the Tate Modern is home to some of the world's most important modern paintings and sculptures. Many of the museums and galleries in London are free to enter. They give visitors the chance to explore the city's rich history. If you like shopping, London has plenty of options. You can find luxury boutiques on Bond Street or colourful markets in Camden Town. Oxford Street, one of the busiest shopping streets in the world, has a wide selection of popular brands. For entertainment, London's West End is famous for its theatres. You can see musicals, plays, and comedy shows throughout the year. The city also hosts various concerts and festivals. London has a diverse and exciting food scene. You can try many different cuisines, from traditional British fish and chips to food from India, China, or Italy. The city is also known for its pubs, where you can relax and enjoy a pint of beer. London's public transport works very well, even if Londoners sometimes complain about it. The tube, in particular, makes it easy to travel around the city. Living in London is great, but it can be noisy, fast-paced, and expensive. With its rich mixture of history, culture, and entertainment, the city always leaves a good impression on visitors, even if it rains for their whole trip. I live in Oxford, a city that's famous for its beautiful architecture and prestigious university. I moved here when I was a student and liked it so much that I decided to stay. I think most people would agree with me when I say it's one of the most beautiful places in England. It's also one of the country's most important centres of learning. Wherever you go in Oxford, you feel a sort of intellectual atmosphere around you. The heart and soul of Oxford is, of course, the university, which dates back to the 11th century. This makes it the oldest university in the English-speaking world. Some people are surprised to discover there is no central university building or main campus at Oxford. Instead, there are 39 semi-independent colleges, most of which include a dining hall, a chapel, a library, common rooms, and accommodation for 200 to 400 students. Magdalen College even has a deer park. Nowadays, the college that attracts the most visitors is probably Christ Church, because its large hall was the inspiration for the dining hall in the Harry Potter films. Oxford University has had a significant impact on British life. So far, 30 UK Prime Ministers and over 70 Nobel Prize winners have studied here. I should point out that the university isn't the only thing worth visiting in Oxford. The city also has many museums, galleries, and theatres, offering a wide range of artistic and historical treasures. The Oxford Playhouse puts on various plays throughout the year, while the Ashmolean Museum has an amazing collection of objects and artifacts from all over the world. If I had to recommend just one thing to see, it would be the Alfred Jewel, but it's not easy to choose. Oxford has a lively social scene, with a great number of cafes, restaurants, and pubs. The River Thames flows through the city on its way to London, and many residents and visitors go to the green areas beside it to relax and enjoy nature. Oxford should be at the top of your list of places to visit. It's easy to get here from other parts of the country too. Many of my friends have visited me in Oxford, and they have all fallen in love with the city. The old stone streets and honey-coloured medieval colleges make you feel like you've gone back in time. Wherever you look, there is stunning architecture, and wherever you go, you're surrounded by art, culture, and history.
As someone lucky enough to call New York home, I can confidently say that this vibrant and ever-changing city has something for everyone. Living here is a thrilling experience. The Big Apple is a unique city that captures the hearts and minds of its residents and countless people around the world who know it so well from TV and movies. Besides being the largest city in the U.S. and an important center for international diplomacy, the United Nations has its headquarters here, New York has a considerable influence globally on culture, finance, entertainment, technology, politics, art, fashion, and sport. Some people have even called it the capital city of the world, but maybe that's an exaggeration. However, one thing that can't be denied is that New York is a city of superlatives. It has the world's largest metropolitan economy and stock exchange and the highest property prices. On the cultural side, New York is home to the largest art museum in the Americas and has the greatest linguistic diversity of any city in the world, with approximately 800 languages being spoken here. New York contains 5 distinct boroughs, each with its own character and unique qualities. From the iconic skyscrapers of Manhattan to the trendy neighborhoods of Brooklyn, the cultural diversity of Queens, the green spaces of the Bronx, and the suburban oasis that is Staten Island, each borough offers something different. For people who don't live here, however, there can be no doubt that one borough alone wears the crown: Manhattan. Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island are all special places, but almost all of the city's most famous sites and landmarks are situated on the island of Manhattan. It's the Manhattan skyline that hangs on the walls of thousands, maybe millions of homes across the world. When people think of New York, they often imagine Central Park, Times Square, Broadway, Wall Street, the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, and Brooklyn Bridge. Of course, these last two aren't technically on the island of Manhattan itself, but they are part of it in the collective imagination. The point is, for most people who haven't visited the city yet, Manhattan simply is New York. It's different if you grew up here or have lived here for a long time, though. If I had to choose one borough to settle down in, I don't think it would be Manhattan. Firstly, it's too expensive for most of us. And secondly, there are other boroughs with equally exciting cultural scenes and a more enjoyable pace of life. I don't think I'll ever get tired of wandering the streets of Manhattan when I catch the subway over on the weekend. But for now at least, I'm more than happy living and working in Brooklyn, which is also a fascinating place to visit if you have time during your trip to NYC. San Francisco, the city by the bay, is the perfect blend of ocean and hills, famous landmarks, and vibrant neighborhoods. Although it's smaller than New York or Los Angeles, it has a special charm and character. It's a city that's rooted in history, and yet, at the same time, committed to innovation, especially when it comes to technology. San Francisco was founded in 1776. It then saw rapid growth during the California Gold Rush. In the 20th century, it experienced the terrible earthquake and fire of 1906, and in the 1960s became the birthplace of hippie counterculture. Since then, it has continued to attract artists, free thinkers, and intellectuals. In recent years, San Francisco has become a popular tourist destination and an important center for software development. Tech giants Google, Apple, and Facebook have their headquarters just a short drive away, and their presence contributes to the entrepreneurial atmosphere of the region and the growing startup culture. Downtown San Francisco is surprisingly compact, so it's easy to explore on foot. However, even if you love walking, you should definitely experience the legendary San Francisco cable cars. A ride on a cable car is a great way to admire the city's various architectural styles, which range from old Victorian houses to modern skyscrapers. Although some locals still use the cable cars for transportation, most of the passengers today are tourists. Not far from downtown is Fisherman's Wharf, a popular waterfront district known for its seafood, street performers, and lively atmosphere. Both tourists and locals come here to enjoy fresh clam chowder served in bread bowls and to see the bay and the sea lions sunbathing on the docks. When you look out at the bay, you can't fail to notice another of the city's most visited attractions, Alcatraz Island. It was once the site of a maximum security prison for the most notorious criminals in the country. The prison closed in 1963 and reopened to the public as a museum about a decade later. The northern tip of the San Francisco Peninsula is another magnet for tourists. Why? It's home to what one travel guide has described as possibly the most beautiful, certainly the most photographed, bridge in the world. The Golden Gate Bridge spans the entrance to the bay. Amazing from both an engineering and artistic standpoint, it fully deserves its status as the symbol of the city. There is so much to see and do in San Francisco that I haven't even mentioned yet. From Chinatown to the Mission District and the twists and turns of Lombard Street, the city is full of unique and unforgettable sights. Everyone should visit San Francisco at least once in their lives. And if you can, why not make your visit part of a longer road trip exploring the breathtaking Pacific coastline?
I live in Edinburgh, which is the only place in the British Isles where you can find a royal residence, a medieval castle, and 3 extinct volcanoes. People have called it the Athens of the North because, like its Greek cousin, it has a rich history of cultural and scientific achievements. It also has its own Parthenon, the national monument on Calton Hill. Edinburgh has been the capital of Scotland since the 15th century. The city is divided into 2 main areas: the medieval Old Town, dominated by the castle, and the New Town, which dates back to the late 18th century and still preserves much of its original architecture. In 1995, UNESCO recognised both the Old and New Towns of Edinburgh as World Heritage Sites. While shoppers usually head straight to the New Town, tourists are generally more interested in the sights of the Old Town, centred around the famous Royal Mile. This runs from the castle to Holyrood Palace, the official residence of the British monarch in Scotland. Exploring the Royal Mile is one of the highlights of any trip to Edinburgh. However, if you're willing to explore the surrounding areas too, there are some real hidden treasures to discover. One of these is the Writers' Museum, which celebrates the city's important contribution to literature. In 2004, Edinburgh became the first city to be named a UNESCO City of Literature. The city has been home to renowned writers such as Robert Louis Stevenson, Sir Walter Scott, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes. More recently, Edinburgh provided inspiration for J.K. Rowling, who wrote much of the Harry Potter story while living in the city. Could the breathtaking sight of Edinburgh Castle have influenced her vision of Hogwarts? It seems possible. It's also interesting to note that in Edinburgh's Greyfriars Graveyard, there is a gravestone that bears the name Thomas Riddle. Is this the place where Harry Potter's nemesis found his true name? Edinburgh is the second most visited city in the UK. Tourists arrive in their thousands throughout the year, but they come to see more than monuments. Edinburgh is the UK's leading city for festivals. In the summer, there's the world-famous Edinburgh Festival Fringe, the largest performing arts festival in the world. Only the Olympics and the World Cup sell more tickets. The Fringe transforms the entire city into a stage. Anyone can take part with any type of performance. There are all sorts of shows to enjoy: music, dance, opera, theatre, and above all, comedy. In the winter, Edinburgh celebrates Hogmanay, which is the Scottish word for New Year's Eve. The city hosts a huge street party on Princes Street to say goodbye to the old year and welcome the new one. The celebrations last 4 or 5 days and include concerts, processions, fireworks, and, of course, lots of eating and drinking. Hogmanay is a magical time to be in the city. But that said, there really isn't a bad time to visit Edinburgh. If you can't be here for the big festivals, don't let that stop you from visiting. Come in spring or autumn, and you'll still have a wonderful experience.